Our speaker today is Lacey Pratt, Fundraising and Community Outreach Manager for Show Me Central Habitat for Humanity. She will tell us about their current projects, including Women Build. Lacey Pratt is a dynamic marketing and development director with more than 9 years of experience in nonprofit fundraising, strategic marketing, and high-impact event execution. She is one of the newest members of the Show Me Central Habitat for Humanity team, joining in January 2026. In her position as Fundraising and Community Engagement Director, Lacey leads, designs, and launches multi-channel marketing initiatives and orchestrates annual fundraising galas that strengthen donor retention and community engagement. Previously, Lacey directed outreach and admissions effort at Embark Behavioral Health, where she crafted compelling content, secured referral partnerships, and supported enrollment growth for specialized treatment programs. Lacey's expertise spans project management, public relations, website development, social media strategy, marketing research, and event planning. Lacey holds a Bachelor's of Science in Strategic Communications from the University of Missouri and a degree in Applied Art Therapy from the Kansas City Art Institute. She is a certified development executive through the National Association of Nonprofit Organizations and Executives. Outside of work, Lacey enjoys spending time outdoors, hiking with her two sons, Harvey 10 and Arthur 9, along with their dog, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, Tacoa, aka Taco, and working on the pottery wheel and painting in her studio. Welcome, Lacey.
Thank you for having me. I was like, you got to get to the good part. It's those boys. That's the fun part. Thank you for having me. Do you guys want me to just go ahead and share my screen and just go over some things?
You can share your screen whenever you like.
Okay. Drum roll, please. Let's see if this is gonna work. Share. And then I'm going to do play from the start. Can you
That's
see
it.
that?
Looks good.
Awesome. Woohoo, the hard part's over. I wanted to just briefly go over some of our background, and then I think the more important piece is going to be how folks in the community can help and work with us. So I'll just breeze through this pretty quickly. We operate under the Habitat for Humanity International umbrella, and the way that works is local Habitat for Humanities are able to kind of tailor their home ownership program specific to the needs of the community. So it's pretty crucial that they give us that freedom to do that, and it's also awesome that we've got that umbrella of support. The Show Me Central was founded in 1988. You'll have to forgive me. I'm at the restore, so you may hear some doors slamming. We've got 189 homes that we've built in Boone County since we opened up our doors. And we have local founders that are really immersed in the community, and some of those names may be familiar to you all. And of course, our vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. These are our core principles. So we demonstrate the love of Jesus Christ. We focus on shelter. We advocate for affordable housing, promote dignity and hope. And I can't read the last one because the screen is over there, but you can read it. And we do follow the equal housing opportunities. So this is in accordance with federal regulations, and we pride ourselves on following that when we're working with potential homeowners and the community. And then I gathered these statistics. I wanted to make sure that they were accurate for us here locally and nationally. So 1 in 10 local homeowners spent half of their income on housing last year. And the most qualified U.S. households cannot access rental assistance. And I just thought that these numbers were pretty profound to share. Unassisted, severely cost-burdened, low-income renter households was over 10 million. 10 million. I mean, that's insane. And then this was pretty eye-opening for me as well. Households that spend more than half of their income on housing in the United States for now. And you can see that's a significant portion of homeowners and potential homeowners. So we sell our homes to the homeowners at no profit. They have a 20-year interest-free mortgage. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about sweat equity and why that plays a really big part for our homeowners. But you can see our homes value on an average of $120,000. We have 3, 4, and 5 bedroom homes that we are building. Here's a couple pictures of some of them. And then sweat equity is 250 hours that an adult would spend building their home or their neighbor's home. So once we have vetted someone to qualify to be a homeowner during that year when we're building their home, you will see them with a hammer and nail and just helping build theirs or their neighbors. In addition to the primary homeowner doing 250, if there is an adult child or another adult living with them, they will also be included and encouraged to do the sweat equity. And then this is an eagle's eye view of our Boone Prairie subdivision. It's our current project. It's on 50 acres and we'll have 143 homes. I just got back from being in the subdivision. I try to go there as much as I can. It's really exciting to go and see children playing in the streets and just people walking around with food. And I mean, there's no other feeling. It's pretty wonderful. And then this is a breakdown of how the mortgage works and how we're able to provide them with that interest-free loan. And then I did a monthly payment of $771 for our 4-bedroom home, and that's pretty current as of right now so that you can see how it's broken down. Obviously, if they choose a different insurance, maybe a little more or a little less. Some more pictures of our homes. And then the fun part, how you can get involved. So we have volunteer opportunities both at our resale store and on the build sites. We do team volunteer days. We've got a group out there today from MU, some from GME. It varies, but it doesn't, there usually isn't a day that goes by when we don't have a group of 10 or more out there volunteering with our construction team. And then we also have opportunities in the restore. With the restore, I can't emphasize this enough. It plays such a crucial part to how we are able to provide affordable housing to the community. The restore is well over half of the funds that come in that allow us to continue to do this for people. And we need volunteers to help, price things, put things out on the floor, help us work on the cash register. And so if you know of anybody, that is a really big need that we have right now is getting folks in the restore. And I wanted to just quickly touch on our women build. So in addition to the resale store and volunteer building, we host, I want to say about 8 larger builds a year. And these are pretty catered and specific to the group. For example, the one coming up in May is our women build. It is going to be 60 plus volunteers working together to work on a home for a female homeowner. And so the entire event is kind of curated around that specific group. But in addition to that, we host a realtor build 2 times a year. That one's got 60 to 100 realtors that come and help build during that time. We have Frame the World, which is in July. And that one is specific to the trade and educators. And they have people from across the country that come and help us work and frame a home. And then in June, we also have our Pride Build. And obviously, we're working with the LGBTQ community. We work closely with the Center Project, and that one is a really fun one. And we all just get together and build. I working really hard with people. So for the women build, I've got female speakers that are going to come and present. And so I don't know, I guess what I'm saying, if there's any type of an opportunity or any group that you think may benefit from a build like this, we are all ears and all about it. Some more pictures of people building. and then some of our lovely Mizzou volunteers for the Restore. We also need folks, we pick up donations, and so we have a great need for folks that can help with that as well. And then I did want to talk about the Restore. It's bringing in over $500,000 a year that we're able to use to put towards our homes. And we recently had a garage sale with Broadway Christian Church. I think it was our 33rd year. We had a goal of getting $40,000 and we crushed it. They went above and beyond. And so we are all still really excited and all smiles about that garage sale. We're so grateful for that partnership. So we're excited. We also have the date set for next year, April 3rd. Put it on your calendar. And that's it. I just wanted to put some contacts on there for how to connect and how you can contribute, but that's all I have. I wanted to leave a lot of time for questions and hopefully I'm able to answer them for you.
The first question we have in the chat is for you to explain briefly where that Prairie subdivision is located.
Mm-hmm. So it is on the north side of town on Brown Station Road. Do you know where Faith Baptist Church is at?
No, but I know Brown Station Road, and it's quite close to 63, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's directly across from that church and that subdivision. And I would love if anybody wants to take a tour. I love to load people up, either if the weather's great in the golf cart, but take a nice stroll with some coffee and see all the exciting things happening. You're welcome to do that at any time.
My son lives in Auburn Hills, and there are some
Yeah.
open areas up there that are probably inside of the Columbia city limits. I'm not sure, but it's a pretty new area part of town on the very edge of town.
Yeah, it's easily accessible. There's lots of wide open spaces. There's just kids and children playing all the time. It's really great. Anytime I have, a tough day, maybe it's not a day that I'm able to spend with people in the community. If I need a reset, I just get in the car and go and just talk to people that live there.
So that's a habitat kind of community, or at least sponsored
Mhm.
community, but there are habitat houses all over, right?
There are. So we have one that's actually right downtown, right on campus, and it was built 6 years ago by architecture students, specifically for sustainability. So it is the one that is incredibly unique, and you wouldn't recognize it as a habitat home by its location. And then when we first opened in 1988, we have a smaller subdivision on the south side of town, and I am happy to follow up. I've got an email that has an address for it, but that one's unique too, because when you drive through it, you wouldn't think any of them were just habitat communities, but it just looks a lot different than this newer development. So it's exciting.
Kathy Jensen has a question.
I was wondering, Lacey, can you tell us the total amount that was raised at the garage sale, or does that need to be held on to for a while?
No, we're at 42, almost $43,000.
Okay.
So
Yes, that was what
wonderful.
my neighbor was involved in, I'm quite sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alice Turner asks, do you get city, state, or federal funding to help build homes?
We,
What
mhm.
are your funding sources besides
So
your local
yeah,
volunteers?
there are a couple of different federal grants that we operate under. One of them is the Hubble grant. It's incredibly complex, and I can't even begin to tell you the specifics of it. But we work closely with the state and the federal government to just do some basic data reporting as far as how much cost is being put and labor. We also have to work with certain educational resources because of that grant and with the help of that grant, to include Stevens College. We work closely with the Career Center. And that, I believe, with that grant, it's a 5-year grant. And so after that, we'll have to reapply. Yeah.
Question from Herb.
One of the things we I would like to see, and I think many of us too, is that the houses that are put up as affordable houses for direct occupation by mortgagees owners remain that over time when people pass away or leave. And I believe Habitat has a very different strategy for that than, say, the Columbia Land Trust. Would you like to talk about that?
Can you ask it a differently? I just want to make sure that I answer it appropriately
Well,
or
do you
accurately.
not you relinquish control over what happens to the house later
Um,
and property,
Not
I believe,
necessarily.
with
Yeah,
or at least limited control.
not necessarily. So we do ask that until the home is paid off, that they don't sell it.
I understand.
They don't, rent it out as an Airbnb. This may not directly answer your question, but they do have an HOA and they do operate, under certain parameters. But it takes a pretty specific circumstance for us to okay for them to sell, things like that, if that makes any sense. We've only had since 1988 two homeowners sell their home before that 10-year mark, before the home was paid off, and there was a pretty certain circumstance that had that happen. But
The question I was asking pertains to what happens when the mortgage is paid off. And Columbia Land Trust, I think,
Mm.
retains ownership of the land, and you do
yeah,
not.
we yeah, I haven't heard anything otherwise than what you're saying.
And that's a different strategy for the same purpose of trying to keep affordable property for this time
Mhm.
affordable down the line for
Mhm.
single owner or single family occupation. Is there a reason why you don't do that and some other organizations do retain some control for the long term?
Man, that's a really good question, and one that I should probably have. I probably would need some help understanding all of the intricacies involved with that to answer that. But
Yes,
will I have an email or a phone number for you so I can call you back? Because it's a good question, but I'm not equipped to answer to answer that one.
you can go to the Muleskinners website, and our webmaster
Okay.
will forward
Okay.
that.
I'm
Um,
actually quite easy to reach. I'm quite easy to reach at Tillema, the name that you see up here, just Tillema, the last name, at missouri.edu.
that's pretty easy.
That's actually an alias.
That is
I,
really okay. I will follow up because that's a really good question. Um, and I don't want to misspeak.
in some circles, it's a controversy.
Of
Hmm.
course, it's a controversy, and I guess generally inside of Habitat, I guess I'm asking in my question here um, a kind of either strategy or feeling about the challenge that you all have. You're in a city whose property rates are going up pretty
Hmm.
sharply compared to other places in Missouri, but it's also a very, desirable place to live
Hmm.
and needs, the people to be part of our community who could be helped by this. So I see this is the challenge is just on every side here.
Hmm.
How do we keep it affordable or give people access? Maybe is even the key thing here. Uh, is there more you can say about that, about what Habitat
Yeah.
stands for nationally and what the challenges are
Hmm.
locally?
Yeah, so I would say the challenges locally that we're facing now is just a rising price in materials, goods, we've seen a dip in volunteers and donations, and I think that speaks to where things are at as a whole, the uncertainty, when you're asking someone to maybe continually donate, reoccurring payments and or a legacy, we're seeing people tightly hold on to funds, even so much with the Women Build. Usually we have one or two large corporate sponsors for these events, and we're talking $10,000, $15,000 to kind of operate as an umbrella. So when I'm putting on a fundraising event, I don't want to spend money on it. I don't want to take away from the organization. And we're seeing people, tightly hold on to their funds. So that's a challenge. And we need volunteers to ensure that we're able to keep the homes at an affordable rate. If we're having to call in contractors to put in floors, what would have normally been free labor is not. And so we have to be very thoughtful and strategic about what that looks like to ensure that we keep things affordable. There's always a different aspect of the government that we're having to go through for licenses to build or approvals. There's, Indian burial, like right now we have they think there's an Indian burial ground at one of the lots, and we're having to go through a lot of different chains of command to have them come out and say that it's not an Indian burial ground. And so even that in itself came out of left field, but it has disabled our ability to frame a home. So it's constant hurdles to jump over and maneuver. I think that's why the work that I do specifically is so important, because I am the one going out in the community and making the ask, and have to be able to speak to what it is that we do with those funds. We are on and serve on several different boards within the community, the Housing Coalition. We are attending anything and everything that we can to educate ourselves to stay ahead of things. But anything you're seeing on a national level, it gets thrown our way, that's for sure. But
Well, you mentioned yourself as a new person in this organization, and it's great pleasure for us to meet you today in that capacity. And I just want to say your background from Kansas City Art Institute and, very up-to-date, complicated communications program at the University of Missouri. And I assume also someone who is rather attracted to our community as well. Sounds like you're taking advantage of its prospects. A welcome addition to an old organization here, and we certainly wish you all the best in dealing with these challenges. They are big. I mean,
huge.
The housing in the United States, I don't know if there probably are a few other bigger topics, but I wouldn't want to mention them today. Housing is big enough, and going kind of crazy. Also, the way the economy is oriented, with private equity funds getting involved and making things crazy in terms of bidding up prices. So I guess what I'm asking is the secret of Habitat. Of course, I first found out about it from Jimmy Carter, like most people probably, and admired him even before I found out about Habitat. But is it the strength of the people who are dedicated to this organization, whatever problems they have to work out with the world and amongst themselves in doing the complicated things they're doing? Is it the strength of that diverse group of people that that makes it so successful, or is it somehow filling in a need, a vacuum that was there, an obvious one, Jimmy Carter thought, because he was coming from a rural background, that's what people do. How do you see it? How do you sell Habitat for the future, and what meaning it brings, not only to Habitat, but say the whole country?
I think it's a combination of both the support and resources that Habitat International offers, but on the flip side of that, the flexibility that they allow us to work on a local level. I mean, how we operate fundamentally is actually quite different than River City Habitat in Jefferson City, just from a city. And I live in Jefferson City, and so it's been unique to kind of be a part of that community and learn how that habitat is operating versus us. And I think that the future, it, it it's positive. You know, when I was at other nonprofits, when things kind of shifted the last year, you know, politically and within the economic situation, things got really scary. And there's a lot of nonprofits closing their doors. There's a lot of nonprofits not getting federal funding. And I pride myself on seeing the numbers and how the community helps support us locally, financially. Um, it is like a night and day difference compared to where I saw things going about 6 months ago. So I think the positive is that we are not tied to rigid federal funding. And we've got a couple of larger grants that kind of, you know, tie us that way and provide a nice cushion. But if they were to disappear tomorrow, we would be okay. And that kind of takes the stress out of it, if that answers your question at all.
Well, it begins to. Thank you for
Mhm.
those important points. Kathy.
Yes, I was wondering, you mentioned the challenges of finding corporate sponsors. Have you then been able to obtain corporate sponsors for Women Build this year? And then my second question is, are they really going to, are they building the house in just 2 days?
Yeah, no, I wish we would build the house in 2 days, but we are specifically going to be framing. We're going to be working on 3 different homes. We're going to be doing siding on one, flooring and exterior painting on another, and an interior wall painting. So we will get the brunt of that stuff finished. Last year in the 2 days, they framed an entire home. And so now this year, we're going to be working on several different homes. And we
Sounds
are
like an
able,
opportunity for lots of good pictures and a whole lot of people working together where some operations don't quite work that way.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we pride ourselves on we build 7 to 10 homes a year. And I can only there are only 2 other habitats in the entire country that build more homes than us. And that to me is, I know, I just learned that. I'm like, why isn't this on the front page of the paper? So I'm working on it. It's phenomenal, especially when you know, I kind of peered up with another lady from a Minnesota habitat. And what I learned in my 1 hour of speaking with her is they've got a lot of different benefits to their employees, right? They've got health insurance and all of these things and higher pay, but they're only building 2 to 3 homes a year. And so that to me was validating and reassuring that we are able to combat some of the general things with, you know, we're a nonprofit. And so the people that work here have good hearts, and we do this because we love to help people. And I can say that we build more homes than, I mean, what's that, like 98% of the country? I mean, there's not a lot. There's two. It's pretty outstanding. And then regarding the corporate sponsorships, I was able to secure several. Um, but we have one large corporation, Equipment Share, that has historically always donated, you know, $10,000, and this year they went to five. So those are just some of the challenges that we're facing. And I understand it. It make,
Yeah.
you know, so grateful for their, you know, help and participation. And that when that first happened was about 2 weeks after I started. And so that's when I really started to attune even more so with the current state of things, because that was pretty eye-opening.
A related question to what you were talking about, the fine rate that your local habitat group has. Peter Schnurberger asked how many houses has it added in Como in the last 5 years? Something like 50, it sounds like, in the last 5 years, maybe a little more.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
We've got the plats for that larger subdivision is broken up into five, and we've officially broken ground on the second plat, and we are building the 34th home. So it's going up pretty substantial. And then what's really great too, and I'm not sure if I touched on this at all, but you know, to ask a potential homeowner to volunteer their services for 250 hours is daunting. You know,
Yeah.
I'm only saying that I'm a single mom with kids. That's a commitment and it makes sense. But what is so profound to me is that they continue well beyond that.
They
And
stay,
they
yeah.
come and swing that hammer and they're like, you don't need to log my hours. Like it's just, I tell you, when you have a bad day, I will go and go to the neighborhood because it just fills my cup and reminds me what I'm doing this for.
Well, if my father were still alive, he'd be out there with his hammer going. I mean, people love it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Herb.
And I know that you find good uses for every contribution of labor and every contribution of money in any amount that comes your way. But you will also accept donations in goods
Yeah.
that serve your purpose, including helping to stock your wonderful restore. Could you outline for this group, because they may have things helpful to you and not
Mhm.
realize it, what kinds of goods, building materials, tools, and so forth, that are particularly helpful, and the things that you just have to dispose of?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the things that we would dispose of would be, you know, if you've got a half a gallon of paint, you know,
Mhm.
we would want it to be more full. If it is a electrical item like a washer or dryer, you know, we're testing out those things before we put them on the floor. And then clothing, you know, we don't take any clothing. But we have a really phenomenal team on the ground that's accepting everything that comes through those doors. And you can imagine, I'll come in the morning and people have dropped things off at night. There's a lot to go through. But I'll be darned if they do not make sure every doorknob works, every blind that comes in works. We've got a Mennonite gentleman that cuts these beautiful slabs of cedar wood for floating shelves. And so we've got, you know, we've got nearly everything you can think of. But if it's out and it's on the sales floor, it's been tested and it works. And we offer a guarantee if somebody needed to return it. So that's been really nice. But doors, windows, you know, if somebody's doing a remodel and they've got kitchen counters or bathroom counters, all of those things are available on the floor. Yeah, it's fun.
And my son and I found out that you often find things of higher quality than you would go
Mhm.
find at the obvious retail place, and you also find people who have time to talk to you about it. Sometimes,
Yes.
sometimes they're
Yes.
too busy,
Sometimes. Yeah.
but often, if it's a quiet day, there's people who will discuss things with you. My son
Yeah.
loved the paint part the best, I think.
Oh,
He
good. And it's, I always like to tell
he
people
painted
too,
everything.
oh, we have dedicated volunteers and staff and the trucks and the bandwidth. We will come to your home and pick up things as well.
Yeah,
So
good.
give us a call and you know give us a week or so to get out there, but we will come and make it happen. And so that's been awesome.
No, I mean, what he discovered is that it's if you're going to be painting in the garage or someplace like that, why go to a store and pay $50 for the
Mhm.
gallon of paint when they'll sell it to you for $3 or $5? At least it was then. It's probably 10 now, but still, you find what you want pretty much right there at the restore, and it's just a whole lot of fun if you have the time to,
Yeah.
but you need the time anyway if you're going to do that kind of stuff. I want to get you back to our title. Um, Tell us about women in Habitat and why do this event? What what do you want to tell us about this organization, women? You're kind of
Mhm.
new to this outfit here. What have you noticed? What's going on?
So I did a little bit of research, and the Women Build originated in 1991, and it was a partnership with Lowe's. And then it
Mhm.
kind of trickled off everybody's radar and then popped back on about 6 years ago. And I think, started when Ashley, who was my predecessor, was part of the women's networking group at the chamber, and just this real need for sisterhood and this opportunity to get with NAWIC, which is a national organization for women in construction. And they have surpassed any and all expectations of what a partnership could be. These women are powerful and strong and just bring that energy with them. And so it's really cool to watch women either that have no experience and or may have a little bit of intimidation around construction and everything to by the end of it they can leave and say that they've framed a home or they've put siding on it. It's really impactful. I am working to if and essentially if a woman owns a business, I am calling her, and that's how it's been going to invite them and really highlight their business. And I've got acupuncturists, massage therapists, nothing bundt cakes, any and everybody. I just want to get all the women together so that we can have a really powerful time over that 2 days. Um, I think it blows people away when they see confident woman on a construction site. And yeah, it's been really cool to watch.
Well, that's a great answer because we have talked about women in business with some of our guests before, and you're asking those people to turn around and look at this particular need and function in our
Mhm.
community and see what the power of women can do there
Mhm.
too. That's great. I have a question from Wen. Fred, um, I think you touched on it, but she'd like to know a little more. How do people qualify
Mhm.
to get a habitat home, and who chooses those families? And a little more about that process.
Yeah, I'm grateful that you asked that. So our qualifications are they need to have a credit score of 600 or higher
Mm,
and maintain that, right? So we accept applications through the month of March. And when you submit that application, your credit needs to be at 600. And then as we're going through the process of building your home until we sign on that dotted line, it needs to stay at 600 or higher. We partner with different members of the community so that they can take it's a requirement to take financial classes to learn what the expectation will be for owning a home during that time. And then I think one of the more important pieces is making sure that they can pass a background and criminal check. And that's any adult that's going to be in the home. And obviously demonstrate a need. We've got some financial parameters. We want to make sure that whoever's moving into the home is really a family that, qualifies for affordable housing and has shown through their time with Sweat Equity that they are willing to partner with us for this opportunity. And as far as the selection process, there's a reason we only accept applications in the month of March. We have a family selection committee right now that is members of our staff, our executive director, myself, and our accountant, and members from our board. And so we are going through each of those applications and seeing who's demonstrating a need, who may qualify for the services, all of that. And then we are looking for a full-time staff to have someone be the family selection and to help hold their hand through the process. You can imagine we've got all nationalities, all walks of life coming to us, and they have trusted us to guide them through this process, but that relationship doesn't stop just because they are living in their home. So we really have a need for somebody here full time to continue to work with families as things come up. So if you know of anybody, let me know. But
And
that is the current.
do people reapply if they're not
Mhm.
quickly or?
Yeah, actually, it's probably helpful if I explain. Once we get all the applications, like we've got 111 from this last month.
Yeah.
Once we qualify them, right? So they've met those minimum qualifications, we've run the background check. Then it is kind of like a lottery. So right
Mhm.
now I'm breaking ground on a 4-bedroom home. So then I take that group and I'm like, who needs a 4-bedroom home? And then
Yeah.
we're going from there. So we have families that reapply every year, or they may qualify at the start of it, but then when we've selected them, they've gotten married. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
all of the income has changed. That happens way more than you would think.
Yeah.
Or they get a divorce, or they've got 8 other adults that are living with them now. That's not uncommon either. So we're having to constantly make sure that they are falling within those parameters. And I have a lady who this is her 7th year applying. Um, and that's just how it goes.
Oh, that's so interesting, and I can see why
Mhm.
you could use an extra staff person to
Mhm.
try to coordinate that for the committee
Yeah,
because it's pretty complicated.
it is.
Um, and that's
Oh, and they need
uh,
to live here.
right,
I
right.
I guess that,
Well,
you would be surprised how many phone calls I get. And it's, in order to demonstrate a need, you need to be a resident of our community to uh to want to live here. Yeah.
that's almost like catch 22. I can't
Yes.
come here unless I get
Yes.
help from
Yeah.
Habitat.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll remind people listening that that credit score is not it's about how faithful you are and mostly about how faithful you are in paying your bills, not about your
Hmm.
income or earning level at
That's
all,
right.
really. So
Yeah.
it's just one gauge of trust, financial, to someone that they'll follow their obligations. It's not a very high score, really,
Mhm.
but it does indicate that level of faithfulness and carrying out
Yeah.
obligations.
And
So
I guess
that's
I could add too, no credit score could qualify. So if
Mhm.
we've got someone who's, just recently become a citizen, they may not
Right,
have a credit score. And that's not uncommon for us to
right.
to navigate and work closely with the bank on that. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I have sat in on, the final signing when they were getting their keys, and Central Bank is here with us. And I mean, it is the home buying process to a T. It's a lot of
And it
uncertainty.
sounds like they will have a credit score after that
Hmm.
process is
Yeah.
full.
Yeah.
That'll be a big step. Very
What,
interesting.
yeah, and what's nice too is before every application is turned in, we are meeting with them individually, because we don't want them to get their hopes up if they don't qualify. And so something that I love we do is we've got a community resource advocate that's a full-time staff. And if they don't qualify, why don't you qualify? And how can I get you qualified next year? And so we are doing some handoffs within the community and staying in touch with them. I don't want them to give up hope. I want them to realize it's closer than you think, and this is why, and this is how we can help you.
Well, that is an interesting ratio. About something like 10% of the qualified people might be moved in, and that's
Mhm.
not too depressing. If it were much less than 1%, it would be really
Mhm.
more troubling.
Or if
Herb,
we
another
didn't
question.
build 7 to 10 homes a year,
Right,
so
excellent.
that's,
Good,
yeah.
good you guys. Good you guys. Herb, another
There is
question.
a comment in the chat that might want to share after the question that you just asked about Sharp End.
Oh yeah. Um, Kathy said that she thought the shops and Sharp Inn shops were primarily women
Oh, thank
owned,
you. Thank
and
you.
so be sure that they will for many reasons. Those people, several of them, be valuable to an organization like yours. So try to include
Thank
them
you.
is her suggestion.
I do
That's
have a question, a comment, quick comment, however, on top of that, in the same vein. Um, it's quick. My younger daughter, both my daughters, but my younger daughter took part in some habitat activities, as well as some other organizations. And I want to praise Habitat's role in contributing to women's liberation, which is still needed
Mhm.
in this country. The
Thank
younger
you.
daughter got some meaningful skills out of this. And when
Mhm.
she went to Kenya in college and stayed with various families while doing biological field studies, she got a
Wow.
special invitation from a migratory Maasai tribe who wanted her to come spend 2 weeks for them, not to stay in the village helping to cook, but to help them on construction projects.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
And she credits Habitat, among others.
Oh, wow. She sounds impressive. That's great.
She
What is
also
she
wrote the
doing at
gender
the
variant.
society?
She's also the one who broke the gender barrier in football in Colombia, but that's another story.
Well, yeah, she needs to come to the women build.
Well, right. I wonder if there will be people who bring up Peace Corps that some because that's typical stories from Peace Corps as well, where they go to teach or do something else and find themselves doing these kinds of technical things for which they were trained by some organization like Habitat. That's those connections make a person feel better about because they're so beautiful the way they work, make us feel better about the daunting task of the huge problem of overpriced housing and
Yes.
living accommodations that is really strangling our country right now and strangling a lot of our good citizens. Um, and I do remember that was the way Jimmy Carter put it to us. He said it's this very important, and he went through all the reasons. But he says, also people are having a whole lot of fun.
Oh.
They enjoy doing it, and that's why they keep coming back when they don't have to anymore.
Yeah. I care so deeply about the work that I do, and it provides me meaning and purpose during a time of uncertainty. And I don't know how long things will be the way they are, but yeah. And I am just grateful that I work with a team of people that feel the same. Our construction manager, Rick, before he was doing, his dad was our construction manager. I mean, that's a legacy of a family dedicated to, and I think Rick, our construction manager, I mean, I want to dedicate like a full page news spread to him because his passion for what he does and teaching over and over and over again the simplest of tasks, and he just does it with a smile because he loves it. That's that's the good stuff that helps get me out of bed on the tough days.
Well, I'm sure those are really impressive people that you're getting to know well now, but I'll remind you that your role is very important right now because all of our organizations have difficulty with the right amount of public relations, social media. It's a really convoluted, fraught with difficulty and obstacles and disasters that organizations can run into. So I want to commend you on not only your background, but the role you've taken on here. It's really important. Kathy.
Yes. I wasn't sure if Herb got to ask his question, but I do have a question too.
I heard we
Herb,
had a
did you get?
comment, so he just wanted to comment
Oh, okay. I
about
thought
his
he had a
daughter.
question. Okay.
Forgive
Okay.
me.
Well, that's okay. That was lovely. What I wanted to ask about is how someone came to identify a possible Indian burial site and
Isn't
what
that
was
crazy?
noticed.
We
Yeah.
actually just discussed that this morning. I was out at the build site showing some folks our homes, and I had asked about that because that particular home, that lot, we needed to lay the foundation so that we could have a home to frame for women build. And I asked just this morning, I said, how in the heck, why out of all time, like why now? Why are they? And someone had to have called or alerted in some capacity that they thought one was there. That's all we know. We don't, it's the craziest. We've never run into that specific hurdle before. But when I was answering a question earlier and I had just said, they kind of just come out us out of nowhere, that is a prime example. We have no idea how it was reported or who reported it. All we know is that in some capacity, someone reached out to the right person and said, hey, I think there's an Indian burial ground there. And so we are just pivoting and shifting to build, in another capacity. And yeah, isn't that crazy though?
It
Yeah.
is a hazard, of course, and a lot of
Thank
places have
you.
had to deal with it. I'll give you the Kirksville solution. When I lived up in Kirksville, they had this, and I'm sure this was made up, but they said that the whole area where Kirksville sits in Indian lore was considered to be cursed, and no one would ever live there or be buried there. So that solved the problem.
Wow.
But I
Now
don't
I
think we
know what I need to do if somebody wants to build next to me. It's just say, hey, I think. Yeah.
somehow I don't think Columbia or Jeff City would qualify because I'm pretty sure it's pretty active Indian territory there at one point, right next to the river. But
So
for
if anybody
Kirksville,
finds
people bought
out,
it.
if anybody finds out who reported it or how, you let me know.
Okay, do we have any more questions in our yeah, Dave Taylor says known Indian sites.
Oh,
And
that's
then the
all interesting.
mounds on our farm. Yeah. So are there other questions for our guests? We have about 5 minutes more if we need them. I guess as you think about leaving us today, devote a little time for us to think about what we can do personally, what we can do as organizations, we can do in spreading word and connections to help this remarkable organization, which I think in this financial climate we're in, could be held up as an example to others, what we can do to help you with that project.
Mhm.
Go ahead and think about that. If no one else has a question, we'll just let you close out with a riff on what we all can do.
Well, I want to just start by saying that I have made a note for myself to get you the answer to your question, Herb. Are you
Don't let
still
it
building
interfere with
homes?
building.
Yeah. Yes, it was Herb. Yes, we are still building homes in the Boone Prairie subdivision. I think that was a question that came
Yeah,
up.
that was a question.
I so appreciate your time and this opportunity. Love meeting with all of you. It's nice to have this open conversation about topics that I don't normally get to address so much in the public, and it's just been like a relief to just kind of talk about to talk about it. But we are always interested in and need upstanding citizens to serve on our board. And
Ah,
if your group wanted to get together and do a build day or work with us in some capacity, I think we do a great job with team building activities. I mean, get everybody out of their comfort zone and help build something great. And this is helpful, just being able to talk about and have the harder conversations about things.
we tend to have our visibility in politics more than community, though obviously we care about the community part as
Mhm.
well. So call on us when you have a special
I
event
will.
or want to
I will.
get a coalition. We're always willing, if we can, to connect to that. And I want to remind you, I think you probably were told that by our programming uh, people, that we do record
Mhm.
these meetings. So that's going to go up and stay for a couple years if you want to reference it to anyone and say, look at me talking to those people about all kinds of crazy stuff,
Look at me
including
fumbling over Herb's question.
right,
He
yeah,
gets the gold star. Nicely done.
right. Uh, it's used. These recordings are useful not only to our members who couldn't be here today,
Mhm.
but also for our guests who don't have time to say, well, go look at that and tell me what you want me to do when I come visit you. You can use this that way as well. And we really thank you, Lacey, for giving us the opportunity to get to know you, and to all of Habitat, of course, for the wonderful work, the contribution to our great community and our city here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for everything.
We're going to have a little business meeting here. If you want
Okay.
to see what that's like,
I'll
hang
pop
around.
off.
But we think you probably have plenty
Thanks so
to do.
much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.